Hello, welcome to Mostly Speakers. In my last video, I showed you this monstrosity with a 12-inch triaxial Jensen speaker inside of it. And I was thinking, what else could I use to power it? Well, most modern stuff may not play nicely with this vintage speaker, especially the higher powered stuff. And I was thinking, what about this? Let me show you what I've got. Here it is. Hey, wait a minute. What's this doing in here? That's going to have its own video. Alright, so the Dynaco system. 2 preamplifiers and a ST-80 solid-state amplifier. I'm going to look inside the amplifier first because the top comes right off, and I will show you everything that's wrong with it and what all needs to be rebuilt on it, which is most of it. Let's get started. Alright, let's take the cover off the top of the ST-80 amplifier. The screws are completely missing on it, and this will likely need to be sandblasted and repainted. At the very least, repainted. It's quite rusted on the inside and outside. Alright, so we have the ST-80 internals. Again, very rusty on the inside. So all of these large capacitors will need to be replaced. They're completely worn out. This power transformer is what Dynaco is known for. And it's not bolted down, I'm not sure why. The power supply board, right down here, needs to be replaced. It's burnt. So it has gotten very, very hot. The resistor's nicely charred. And most likely all the capacitors on the driver boards will need to be replaced as well. Now we have actually what looks like Westinghouse transistors, so that's interesting. Now this amplifier, as it sits, does work. It powers on and operates, but not very well because the capacitors are so weak that if you try to turn up the volume, it's nothing but distortion. The other thing I'm going to do is replace these oddball little twist lock connectors with some 5-way binding posts. I have some extra ones available for it. So this is going to get a complete overhaul and a fresh coat of paint, a bath, everything it needs to get going again. Just clean the power cord. It's quite brown. It's a little stiff, but it's not frayed, so it's still usable. Okay, so that's the short version of the tour of the ST-80 amplifier. Not much to it. Let's move on to one of the preamplifiers. Alright, this is the slightly newer Dynaco preamplifier. This is the model PAT4. And we have, I'll just go over the features, our power switch over here. This one actually has a AB or A+B speaker selector. We'll look at that when we go tour the back. Independent bass and treble controls. So there's split ring for left and right, and then a separate balance dial right here. A volume dial. This one does not operate correctly. I can turn it about from there to there. So it's loose on the shaft, and it does spin okay on the inside, but it's very, very loose. And then our input selector on the left here. And also a monitor input. So we have a stereo switch if both of these are out, left mono or right mono, and then low or high filters, tone controls enabled. And I don't know what EPL is for. I'll have to look that up. Let's go around to the back of this. So this is designed to be used with the ST-80 amplifier or other models, I suppose. And we have speaker selectors. So actually, the way this is built, the amplifier only has one set of outputs, but if you wanted to hook up 2 sets of speakers, this preamplifier has the ability to do that. So your amplifiers left and right would come into here, and then you can select your A or B pairs left-right amplifiers, left-right speakers. This preamplifier also features accessory power outlets right on the back. So there's 3 switched outlets, and then there's an unswitched right there. Now our inputs on this section over here, so we have a ground lug for a turntable, and then 2 phono inputs. We have a tuner, 2 tape inputs, and what they call a spare. And then we have our outs. EPL in and out. Again, I don't know what that's for. I'll have to look it up. Tape 1 out or tape 2 out, and then outputs 1 and 2. So actually a lot of I/O options on this preamplifier. I'm curious to figure out what it'll take to get this one operational again. Let me move the camera and we'll take a look on the inside of this one. So the lid should just come right off. It's not screwed down. We can see a view of the electronics inside here. Oops, causing shadows. So, all right, we're divided up into the power supply and preamplifier sections. So we have our transformer, power supply board. All the capacitors on this board are bad, and probably this capacitor back here is failed as well. The reason I know that is because when I plugged in this unit to see if it worked, there was voltage on the chassis. So there's no grounding on this. And if these capacitors fail, that means there's AC voltage that goes right on the chassis, the way this is made. Unfortunate that it is that way, but now I'm going to have to replace the power supply board most likely. Now we have our speaker selector over here, very nicely laid out. Single shaft driving each individual section, and then each of the individual amplifier boards. You can kind of see at the top of the unit where over here is the AB speaker selector, and then the headphone output down there. The potentiometers are stacked mono potentiometers, so they're ganged individual ones. Very interesting. Because of the fault of the power supply on this unit, I'm not going to be able to test it right now until I get parts in to repair it. So I'm going to move on to the other preamplifier, the PAT4, and I should be able to test that out. Alright, this is the Dynaco stereo preamplifier model PAT4, and this one also needs an overhaul. I'll give you the overview of the features. We have our input selector over here. Nice solid feel, very nice metal knobs. The volume dial on this one doesn't work at all. It spins all the way around. Our balance control, and then we have our, again, split bass and treble controls. And then we also have a high filter, which I'm not exactly sure what the purpose of that is for. We have switches down here, tape, loudness, filter, low filter, and then AB or mono or stereo. I actually like the styling of this preamplifier a little bit better than the other model. I like these nice brown switches on the front. I think they look quite nice. Now I'm going to spin this around. Alright, so we have again accessory outlets right on the back here. And then we have, it appears this unit got used a little bit. So we have our inputs on this side. So it's labeled for 1 and 2, low, high, and I'm not sure what these are all originally labeled for. There's extra labeling put on. So tape special, I'm not sure what special would have been. And then, more inputs. Ground lug in the middle for the turntable, tape amp, and a tuner and a spare. And then we have the outputs. So we have one single tape output and then 2 separate outputs for the amplifiers. So these old RCA jacks are a little bit on the corroded side. I'm going to remove the cover on this unit, and I have all the screws removed. This is the only piece that I have that had all the screws. So we'll remove the cover and look inside again. Alright, here's the inside view of the PAT4. We have what appear to be potted circuits and capacitors. There's 2 chips here, and I think these are special circuits for phono preamplifiers. And then we have our input selector, again a solid shaft going to both, one to each board, and then the preamplifier circuit boards, and then this is the high frequency filter over here. So it appears to be a variety of different components on that, inductors, capacitors, resistors, and the such like. Here's our power supply down here. So there's the fuse and the Dynaco transformer, and this is the filter capacitor. And I believe that's all there is really to this power supply. So it's I'm not even sure if it gets rectified to DC or not. I don't really know. There are schematics available for all of these units, as well as replacement parts and power supplies. There's one other piece of information inside this unit that I think you'll find quite interesting, and that'll give us a little bit of history. There is the name of the builder, and there is the date this unit was assembled. So that dates this to 1970. So we know exactly how old this unit is. Well, this is going to be the end of this video. I decided not to do an audio demo because this Dynaco equipment is in such bad shape that it actually made the speaker sound worse than by just going straight into the amplifier from my laptop. The features, part of the features do work on it. However, the bass and treble controls work, and the high filter works. Nothing else on this functions correctly at all. The volume dial just spins all the way around. It's completely broken off inside. The selector dial, when tape input is selected, it emits a very loud pop from the speaker, and the tape monitor switch, when it is changed, for some reason it decides to take the volume to 11 on the output. So this Dynaco equipment, that is going to conclude the video on the Dynaco equipment. The primary reason I have the Dynaco is so that I can teach myself how to repair electronics like this, and hopefully succeed at that. So I hope you enjoyed this short look at the Dynaco equipment, the PAT4 and 5 preamplifiers, and the ST-80 solid-state amplifier. Please remember to like and subscribe, and as well leave a comment would be great. And until next time, thank you for watching.